does one have to do under these national banking laws to have the ability to earn a living as a real estate professional who can also facilitate loan origination?
So I love what you said, that you were able to do more closings, do more deals because you understood the finance part of this. And I'm always saying real estate is nothing more than a financial transaction. Please don't confuse it with emotions and pretty pictures of both the house and the realtor, right? This isn't about what's pretty in the industry. It is money and it's finance. And the second you understand how to read the financial input, you are going to turn up the volume in your production. Like, I don't even know how people sell real estate without understanding the money side of the house. Like, don't you want to know the viability of your client to actually go to the closing table? Like, what a novel concept. Can they or can they not afford this house? Or even more ethically, you want to talk about ethics. Is this a good life choice for your client? And you won't know that unless you see their numbers flat out. Like, I have more respect for people who can talk to me about the finances of their clients. Like, you have won me. You have won my heart, my mind, and my soul because you actually know this is a good money choice for your client. Okay, that's my TED Talk. Now, how can people do this, right? Like, okay, so how many of us have ever referred over a mortgage to a mortgage broker? All of us were like, yeah, you got to get pre-approved, right? So introduce my guy. Okay, what if you could control that narrative? Say, I'm going to send you the link to get pre-qualified. It's a 90-second questionnaire. You're just going to tell me some basic information. We're going to do a Zoom call with our banker and actually go through it all. You can see the pricing table live on your camera, on your screen. It takes 15 minutes. What's 15 minutes to you to get a $12,000 commission? It's not hard. Once they see and they like your rates, then you send them the official link to start the application. Now, that link includes the document box, the data room, where the client then can send you their documents. And it's that act right there of the application and gathering of those 6 components of their documentation that qualifies the agent to earn a commission per TRID. So TRID is one of those regulations and laws. So as long as you fill out and you do all those things, you submit that form, you collect those docs, you are legally entitled to a commission. So how hard is that? Like, you just sent over a link. It's not hard, right? Like, we can all do that. We can go through a checklist of 6 things. We do that all the time, right? You have to send over proof of funds. So why wouldn't you as an agent want to know just a little bit more about their financials so that you're not wasting your time with this client? Do they have W-2s? Do they have payroll statements? Do they have 2 months of bank statements? Yes or no? Are you going to continue to show them a house or houses and waste your own time? Or do you want to just know all of it? Just know all of it and then know they can go to closing. Like, for me, it's really simple. Yeah.
The one thing that just came to mind to me was PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So when we work with a loan originator, traditionally, they're going to come with an estimate for the taxes and an estimate for the homeowner's insurance. Mm-hmm. But we as real estate professionals out in the field, we're the ones that are seeing the taxes on every single property. Mm-hmm. If we understood the PITI calculation better, we know which properties potentially qualify and don't qualify just based on the taxes alone. And give you an example. I live in Cook County. 1/3 of all homes, the seller does not get their homeowner's exemption. If they get their homeowner's exemption, a good estimate is that they can reduce their their taxes by up to 28%. One of my listing strategies is to always go and check their taxes for the past 3 years to see if they ever got their homeowner's exemption. And I was a notary when I was still listing real estate. I would print out the paperwork because you had to do duplicate paperwork for every single year up to 3 years. But I would encourage them to do 4 years because I've gotten a 4-year rebate when I first married my husband because he had never gotten his homeowner's exemption on his condo when he lived there. So with that being said, that gives me up to 90 days before they get that refund to take that listing. But from a buyer side, if they in love with a house and I know for a fact that this person never got their homeowner's exemption, I want that exemption to be available for my buyer. And 28% can change those taxes enough in marginalized communities that they could qualify. We then enter into a contract and I help the listing agent reduce the seller's taxes so that the buyer can qualify. That would be a rare situation. But it is how I have put together deals in the past, knowing that 1/3 of all homeowners in my county never get their homeowner's exemption. So this is another strategy for you getting to the table. When I talk to people, even with the CRMS, about the fact that I have, and that's included in my 65 real estate related licenses, designations, and certifications, it's because you learn that one little thing.
Yeah.
That can put, it might only be one deal a year. So to me, I'm coming out the gate with 65 different tools to close a deal. That's going to give me 65 more opportunities than my competition.
Yeah.
Now it's giving my agent 65 more opportunities because of the little things that we're talking about now that people sitting here like, oh, I didn't know that in Cook County, 1/3 of homeowners never get their exemption. I didn't know you could use that as a listing strategy to get them. Because here's the thing, they're going to sign a listing with me. No one I ever got money back did not sign a listing agreement with me. They were all going to give me 90 days. Now I'm using it as when I'm talking to my agents, hey, did you check those taxes over there? Is that homeowner due a homeowner's exemption? First of all, imagine you as a buyer ensuring that the seller gets a rebate of 28%, potentially up to 4 years, even though the statute says 3. Who they writing that offer with?
You're so brilliant. Like if I was there, I'm coming to work for Marky. Like I'm that you
With that, no, come on over here and work with Marky.
Yes, please. Yes.
But it's those little things, right? So now you understand the finance.
Yeah.
You understand your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. But here's what's kind of funny about the timing of this call. Right there on my desk is the information for our HELOC. First thing I did was just scrutinize that appraisal. Now, I ain't going to go back and argue with her on the appraisal because it's under 50% loan to value. But I really don't like the appraisal on that, right? How many real estate professionals don't understand how the true mathematical calculation comes from an appraisal? They don't understand subject, better, add, comp, better, subtract. They're grouping the properties as opposed to isolate, right? I think she could have pulled 2 different comps. Like she could have gave me another $200,000 on this. Am I going to go back and argue on a drive-by? Nah, I'm going to leave it alone. Because you know why? Because I'm still under 50%.
Right. Yeah.
It's not going to, I could argue for the sake of arguing. But since we never sell in this house, it really does not matter. And it's not FHA, so we're not bound as a home equity line of credit, right? But I could sit down, my husband walk dead in his office and drop that paperwork on my desk for me to review it.
Your husband's so lucky to have you. Like day one, you're making him money. It's awesome.
Oh, yes, because I did that for him, right? And I waited until we were married. I want you to know to do that for him. I knew it, but I did not tell him until after we were married. Illinois is a marital property state, even though he had the acquisition of that before me. I'm like,
oh boy. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's sitting right over there. And so they would essentially reach out to you. So is this national? Do I only do this in my state, or can I treat it like I would a referral? And all I need is one license to do business nationally.
For the CFCO, this is national because it's a national bank. So if you have clients who are moving out of state lines, they come to you and they say, Marky, I'm thinking about selling, or I'm going to rent this out. What should I do? I'm going to go buy somewhere else. And instead of like losing all of that business or just making money on the real estate referral, which is still good, that's awesome. But go do the loan for them. So this is just another tool, like you said, your 65 designations, licenses, certifications. This is another one for you to make money. If you're able to understand the finances and get them totally clean, get that file clean and sent over across state lines, you can earn revenue.
Wow. What what have you seen? What's one thing that a real estate professional you think should even maybe have some caution or should not do in this process?
I think you have to disclose, right? Like we always have to disclose. That's the name of the game. That's how you satisfy RESPA. So like I got attacked on socials last night by somebody who was like, you don't know socials. And I'm like, I advise the federal government at several different levels, but thank you so much. I literally was like, do you? But and then he like ghosted me, right? And I'm like, okay, I know like we got scared in this conversation. So it's a matter of knowing all the laws and you have to disclose. So you say, this is how much I can possibly earn or my broker is going to earn, and you list it all out. You say, this is what it is. I may or may not make money on these parts of the transaction. Coldwell Banker does an amazing job. And I think they really set the standard very high with all of the RESPA level disclosures, or at least as a broker, right? Like from business school, what's the one skill you get from business school, which is like plagiarism? So when I first, as a broker, saw that, I was like, wow, hot damn, that's really thorough. We're going to implement that as a best practice. And if it's in the industry as a best practice, the consumer always wins, right? So it's just a matter of RESPA. That's the only thing that I can really say is the most important thing to protect our consumer. And we just have to also say, you don't have to go through me to get the mortgage for me to write this offer for you. Like I'll do whatever you want. Like if you can go find an offer that's better today on the internet, that's awesome. If you'd like me to fact check, get me the list of closing costs, right? And I'll compare apples to apples. I'm here to explain any questions that you have. In fact, even if they don't get the loan with you, at least they trust you more because now you've helped them evaluate the loan they are going to go with. I view this as you can't lose, right? Because if at least they trust you reviewing the money side, like you said, who are they more likely to write the offer with, right? Just another tool, like because they're going to trust you. So it is all about openness, transparency. You're just another resource for them. This is just another page in your book that you can offer them, is like offering them help. I don't see any way that you're losing by adding this to your book of skills.